Hello and welcome to Kit Guru with me, Christina. You better be keeping your ears to the ground today as we are going to be reviewing the HS80 RGB Wireless headset by Corsair, coming in with an RRP of $139.99. Make sure, by the way, that you've hit that sub and like button today, if you haven't already, of course, and it really helps us out, so please do it. Thank you very much. Inside the box you have the headset itself, and I wasn't actually expecting the suspension band here, so that's interesting. Underneath we have a box with the USB to USB-C cable and the wireless dongle, as well as the manual and the usual paraphernalia. A very stiff braid on this cable here, but not going to be a real issue as you will obviously be using this headset wirelessly unless you're caught in a pinch. The headset itself is nothing like what I expected aesthetically. When looking at the previous models such as the HS70s, HS60s, there is some metal detailing and a few different textures. The HS80s here are very well bland. Starting with the outside of the cups, we have the fingerprint magnet satin black plastic surrounded by a slightly more textured mattified plastic. This doesn't attract grease quite as much. We have the light up logo very small in the corner of both cups too. There are controls on the left outer cup, and this is a plastic volume wheel with quite nice strong increments, and it's really good as you won't accidentally deafen yourself. The volume wheel also controls your device's volume, but not the application. So for instance, if you have Spotify on, it will turn the entire device up and down, but not the actual app. This could be a positive or a negative. Some people like to control their device through their headset. Others like to set the device to max and have separate control volume for the headset so that you can get the volume of the game and the music mix right, for instance. But that's just preference, I guess. Power on and off button here with a small LED, and that's for power and battery indication, the USB-C charge port, and of course hanging off of here we have the mic. A pivotal microphone with flip to mute facility with a flexible rubber outer allows you to move the mic to your desired distance. At the end we have the indicator light that shows you the current mic status too. Flipping the cup over, they have gone for straight up fabric here. This material kind of makes my teeth go on edge a little. I know I'm weird, but it's almost like a 70s corduroy pants feel. It's just odd. Perhaps it will feel better on, which I will go over later. Upon initial inspection, there appears to be quite a lot of padding here in the cups. It doesn't hold any kind of memory though that I can see upon release, as Corsair claim it is memory foam, but it does just feel nice and soft. There's no real memory there that I can feel. We do have a slight variation in texture as we move up. These brackets are gunmetal grey and then straight into that plastic headband. This material is very similar to that on the cups, but slightly more rubberized. Unfortunately, it's still a fingerprint magnet. Even without eating or sweating, it just kind of attracts grease so much. On the underneath, you can see the suspension headband here. This is very reminiscent of the SteelSeries Arctis 7. You can adjust the headband by peeling off the Velcro straps here and replacing to make smaller or larger depending on your head size. This is really easy to do, and also it does go pretty darn wide. There is a little bit of padding on this suspension head strap too. This has a surprisingly good amount of padding, and also the pleather material is very plush to the touch. The cups are 90-degree adjustable as well. In terms of flex, there are some initial cracks and clicks when stress testing, which worried me considerably, but luckily I didn't break anything, and after the initial play around it actually loosened up a little and the cracking and creaking kind of stopped. And to be honest, they do move around pretty well. This is supposed to be a lightweight design, and this may be the reason why there is so much plastic involved in this construction, and some aluminium too. The fact that this headset comes in at 367 grams too supports that claim further still. So overall, aesthetically, this is a very muted and basic looking headset with very little frills, but there are more important factors to be considered here. How does it feel, and how does it work? So first off, I will talk to you about comfort. The texture of the suspension headband provides a nice amount of grip if you have hair, so you don't have any kind of sliding around happening even when you're bending down. The cups swivel enough to find a comfortable position, at least they did for me, and the headband, as mentioned earlier, is pretty accommodating to most head sizes. The cups though were surprisingly firm upon first wear, which does create a little bit of pressure around the ears, and I tried tried to adjust the headband strap to see if that would loosen it off a little bit, but unfortunately it didn't really make a lot of difference. So there isn't really a way to adjust that clamp force if you don't like it or if it's a little bit too tight. You can tilt the cups, however, but that just redistributes the pressure to the top or bottom of the ear. It doesn't really change it much, in my opinion anyway. I played with the HS80s on my head for a full evening of gaming in around 23 Celsius heat, and I did find that they were a little warm, but I didn't sweat, so that is a bonus, as with pleather you kind of find that you sweat quite a lot. It would have been nice to see some sort of cooling technology in the phone, which can be found in some other headsets, because when you take the HS80s off, you really can feel the difference in temperature when the air hits your ears. The headband though itself is great because you can't really feel the headset at all, even being on your head. Even after the previous mentioned pressure whilst gaming, I didn't find that there was any pressure on the top of my head or any kind of pulling down. Moving more onto functionality now, the cups are pretty darn good at keeping the sound out and in where needed. They're definitely sound isolating. Just before I go into more about how I got on when testing them, I wanted to go over some key features. The HS80s use slipstream technology with 24-bit 96 kHz audio resolution that also has intelligent frequency shift. This tries to keep your signal from dropping out, and they claim to have up to a 60-foot wireless range. This doesn't state line of sight, but I assume so, as there is a sentence which states from desktop to sofa. I tested this and I was able to walk into the next room, which was partitioned by a stone wall in an old house, and it was absolutely fine. Walking around my landing was also fine in between rooms, but going to the very end room of the floor lost signal. I think that's a pretty strong result there though, and I'm happy with that. The HS80s also have Dolby Atmos spatial audio. For this, you have to download a separate app, and you get a whole new set of custom audio EQ settings that you can play around with at your convenience. This is only available on PC though. We will go over this more in the software. The HS80s are compatible with Mac, PC, PS5 and PS4. The microphone they claim is a broadcast grade omnidirectional microphone which has a vocal frequency response of up to 10 kHz. Here is the mic test for you. So this is the mic test for the HS80 RGB Wireless headset by Corsair. I've got about a 3 fingers width away from my mouth on the microphone here, and I'm talking at what I would call quite a normal kind of level here. If I start talking a little bit louder, then hopefully you can hear how the headset deals with that. If I speak a little bit quieter, then hopefully you can deal with that too. I also do have the mic volume at high and side tone so I can actually hear myself, which is really nice. And I'm just going to do some P's and B's, so p, b, p, b, pa, b, s, s, t, t, s, t, t, so that we can hear some of the plosives potentially. I'm going to make some noise in the background so that you can hear if that's the thing. I'm going to do some typing just so that you can hear that. I'm going to go quiet as well in a second so that you can hear the background noise. And that concludes our test. I think that this was a really good mic test. There were a few small plosives, but you could just move the mic away further from your face if that's a problem, and I think that that would solve it, to be honest. Overall, I'm really impressed with the sound that the mic has given off. Battery-wise, Corsair claim up to 20 hours of battery, and you can plug it in and charge whilst using. It is recommended to charge in a 2.0 USB slot or higher. It's recommended to fully charge before first use. So I got around 16 hours of consistent use. This was at full volume and with full RGB. Now that's not exactly the 20 hours promised by Corsair, but if you turned the RGB down or off and the volume down, you would undoubtedly get a lot more time out of this. Now onto software. To update the headset, you must take the dongle out if you have connected it to your PC already, and then turn the headset off and then hit go on the update. This took me a while to figure out why it wasn't working, to be honest, but at least I figured it out. In the software, you start on the device page that shows your connected devices. If you connect the headset with the cable, you won't obviously see the dongle here, but first let's dive into the headset. So you can see that we have lighting effects here. There isn't a lot of lighting on this headset, so a lot of these settings don't really make a massive difference. Next, we have the equalizer where you have 5 presets, and you can see I've added my own preset by pressing the plus button above here, and you can change all the sliders to your own preference. The side tone and the mic volume doesn't work unless you pop the mic down into active position. Here you can adjust accordingly. Here you can see it grays out and you can't adjust it when I lift the microphone up. On the last page you can see that you have the firmware and additional options like changing the auto off time, brightness, etc. Next, we will have a look at the dongle here. You compare multiple devices to one dongle and you can see that I have only one connected, but to be able to link multiple devices, you have to have the PlayStation compatibility mode turned off. Also, you can repair if for some reason it won't pair naturally with your device. The HS80 headset is compatible with Dolby Atmos, which uses the Dolby Access app. You can download only on PC for free. Here you can see the process I went through to set up the device, and once you've done that, you can get to the settings. Here you can enable game mode, which helps with spatial awareness and sound placement. Dolby Access, Dolby Atmos does help with the aforementioned, but the HS80s don't have digital surround or 7.1 surround built into the headset or with the base software. You have to have this Dolby software installed, so if you play on a device without that software, you're not going to be getting that surround experience. I think for 139 quid, it would have been nice to see at least a digital 7.1 built into the main software or something like that in my opinion, but that's just me. Now, on to the sound test. I found that the Pure Direct was the best preset for music as the bass boost setting made the whole sound become a little bit muddy, and the others were a little over the top on the top ends as they are made for things specific like voice and stuff like that. Also, Dolby Atmos or Dolby Access whilst listening to music was nice as you did hear a difference in the way that the soundscape was, and it made even familiar songs sound completely different. Also, by the way, this Dolby Atmos or Dolby Access also uses Windows Spatial Sound and overrides the iQ software. So if you have a preset on iQ and enable Dolby, it will override that setting. If you go back to iQ, you will see a notification informing you of this, and you must turn it off to use the presets and equalizer in iQ. Gaming wise, I cracked out the usual Call of Duty, popped on the FPS preset, and I found that with the Dolby stuff enabled, it was actually a better experience. Not to the point that without it, it sounded rubbish, but I did definitely prefer it. This also goes for music, and I previously mentioned you could really tell the difference when it was enabled over just using iQ. I found whilst playing an FPS though, the presets didn't quite cut it for me. Making my own suited me better, but that's just me being pedantic really, and it is really down to what you want to hear from the game and your personal preference. I would say overall there are a lot of options to customize the sound here, so you can really get what you want out of it. And also the headset itself produces a satisfying, non-distorted bass and well-balanced highs and mids. There are in no way any tinniness with or without software. So in conclusion, the HS80 RGB wireless headset by Corsair is really decent. The sound is great, it's a shame it's a little plasticky in my opinion, but it's also pretty comfortable, despite that slight pressure from the level of clamp force, but overall, there isn't an awful lot to complain about. But does that make it worth £139.99? Well, yes and no. It's not a bad price, but you could get the HS70 Pros that offer a very similar sound quality, but I personally prefer the design of those two over the HS80s, and they're only £69.99 at the moment. Also, you could get the HS70 Bluetooth headset by Corsair. This headset doesn't need a dongle and is compatible with far more devices, and it's available for £94.99 at the moment. So let us know down in the comments if you think the HS80 RGB wireless headset by Corsair is one that you will be getting. Check out our merch down below and our website daily for tech news. This is Kit Guru, I'm Christina, and I will see you next time.